My name is Carlton Cartwright. I'm the Executive Director for Veterans Memorial and Multicultural Histories Incorporated. And today is February 26, 2024. And we're at 330 Via Jardin? Clematis. So that's across the street? Via Jardin. Okay, anyway, my mistake. 330 Clematis Street in downtown West Palm Beach, Florida. And Miss, what is your name?
Joyce Yvette Russell.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Miss Russell, were you drafted or enlisted?
Enlisted.
Okay, where were you living at the time?
Richmond, Virginia.
Mm-hmm. And what year did you go into the service?
1983.
Okay, and why? Why did you?
I wanted to get as far away from the country I was raised in as possible.
Okay. Okay. All right. What were you doing prior to going into the service?
I was working for an insurance company as a claims reviewer.
Okay. And again, how old were you when you went into service?
I was 19.
Okay. All right. All right. So why did you choose that branch? Why did you go into the Army?
The Air Force rejected me because I was 2 pounds overweight. So I was so ready to leave that I went to the next office and walked into the Army. They had no problems with the weight. Matter of fact, I wasn't overweight. It was probably just water. When I got to the military, I was 5 pounds less than I was when the Air Force weighed me.
Okay. So what was basic training like? Tell me about your instructors. Tell me about the daily regimen. Where was it? Where was basic training?
Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. How long was it?
It was 8 weeks. I loved basic training. I didn't even want to leave. I loved the activity. We were always busy from 4 a.m. till like 11. My drill sergeant and I got along so well that he put me in charge of the barracks at night.
Okay.
I enjoyed just being free to always have something on your agenda every day. It was never a boring minute. Mm-hmm. It was exercise for 2 or 3 hours in the morning, and you would eat, and then you would get ready for the next round of activities, which was more training. Mm-hmm. If you didn't pass or failed, you had to complete more training. And on top of that, every time you made a wrong move, it was push-ups, push-ups, push-ups. We had to run everywhere. If they caught you walking, it was push-ups. You could not walk. You had to run all day for everything from going to the store to going to eat to going to the barracks. If you were caught walking, you were in trouble.
What were your instructors like?
Oh, they were family men who had been lifers. They had been in the military at least 15, 20 years. They saw this as their chance to change the dynamics of the young mind. They were hard on us. Boy or girl, they didn't care. They were extremely tough. You had to get used to their language, which was very stern and aggressive. I just found it to be almost like what I enjoyed at home, which was a stern, aggressive person that's ready to beat you up every day. So for me, it was like being at home, but having the ability to be traveling and seeing new faces. I met people from all over the world.
Okay. Where did you go to tech school?
I went to AIT, and also it was in Fort Jackson.
And how long was that?
Another 6 weeks.
What was your job?
Administrative assistant, 71 Lima.
Okay, all right. What years were you in?
1983, February. I went in on the 3rd of February, and I got out on January 24th, 1985.
Okay. Where was your first duty base?
Fort Ord, California.
Okay, and what's making you smile?
Because I put it in my contract that they can only send me to California. I actually was at 19. I was still a legal mind. I made an amendment to my contract, mm-hmm. and I put in there, you can only send me to the West Coast, California specifically.
Right. Okay. Cool. How long were you there?
I was there from 83 till 84.
Okay. And your job was administrative, right?
Right. I worked in the 107th Military Intelligence Battalion.
And what did you do?
Basically wrote training schedules for the infantry on what they should do to play war. We basically helped them play war. We made up the strategic plan and went out to the field with the infantry, but we were like the spies. We were trying to calculate fatalities, what the actual war scenario would play out to be, worst case or best case scenarios.
Right. So you did a lot of maneuvers.
Right.
Right. Okay. What kind of? I'm just curious. When you were out in the field being a spy, what kind of vehicles were you being transported in?
We were being transported in regular Humvees, nothing special. We had to dig our own latrines. We had to do everything. We had to act like we were part of the infantry,
Right.
but we were not. We were just the people that were watching how the infantry took commands and how they completed their task. So it was almost like a fly on the wall, kind of speak. They didn't know that we were in those Humvees covered with camouflage.
Right.
And we stayed pretty much to ourselves, but we were out in the woods, no special accommodations. We ate sea rations like everyone else.
Okay. By the way, how was the food and basic training?
Okay, so I grew up on home cooked food, so I found it to be too much but you were working out so much, you needed that protein and those calories that you needed it to keep going from day to day.
Right.
Because I particularly didn't like eating, meat and potatoes every day. But it was a smorgasbord. They had salad buffet. I mean, as you got into AIT, you got better dibs on food and
accommodations.
Yeah, the accommodations got better. The time off got better. The free time increased, because in the basic training there was no free time.
No.
None.
No. Okay. Were you ever in combat?
No.
Okay. All right. No problem. So tell me, while you were, sounds like you were there for a year and a half?
Right.
Okay. So, what city were you near?
Okay, I was right on the tip of Carmel, in which Clint Eastwood was the mayor at the time.
Okay.
And so it was the most beautiful area of the West Coast, because this is right where the country meets the city. So Carmel, Monterey, Pacific Grove, the famous golf course 17, Pebble Beach, all of that was right there within 10-15 minutes.
So how did you go about experiencing those things?
Cabs, taking cabs on weekend time off, going to just walking around, experimenting, going to different restaurants. And most of the time we had to be in uniform, so you had to act accordingly anytime you were in uniform. And so it was just a time to really get out, away from the first time my family, my parents, my brothers and sisters were not around. And so it was really the first time of feeling like a real grown-up.
Okay. So how was the food?
Okay, off-base food is excellent, but expensive. So we're used to eating for free. We get to a restaurant and we start eating like we do when we're on base in the chow hall, and you get the dessert. You're used to that, but when you have to pay for it, all of a sudden you might be working. You might be in the kitchen working that night because you don't have the money to pay for it, but they definitely will call your commander on you. So somebody's got to come up with the money.
I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
Okay. R&R while you were there. I mean, did you stay in California the whole time, or did you go back home?
I stayed.
What was it like? Was it challenging staying in touch with your family, by the way?
I wrote a lot. because I'm a writer by nature, so I wrote every day. I sent pictures home. I I called periodically, but my father was sick at the time, so that was one of the reasons why I was trying to write every day, so my mom could read the letters, so he would know I'm okay. He was in Charlottesville Hospital at the time while I was in the military. So I was keeping in close contact with family, and they were really surprised that I didn't want to come home. But I really did like being away from family. I felt like this was something I've been wanting to do since I was 3 or 4, was to travel and to have a job that nobody could do or explain. The military to me was a chance to get away from the normal teacher. My parents wanted me to be a teacher. And when I didn't want to be a teacher, they were very upset. But the only thing that made them calm was that I was going into the military.
Right.
Because my brothers had been in.
Okay. All right. Oh, speaking of college. Well, so I guess your tour at Fort Ord went good. It was
good, and I went to school at nights. So my first.
What were you majoring in?
Math. I was a mathematic prodigy when I was in high school.
Did you think about staying in the service and becoming an officer?
I did not.
No?
I did not. Actually, I got a sour taste in my mouth because women were treated differently.
Where was the next duty base?
Okay, so Fort Ord was my only duty base.
Okay.
That I didn't want to go anywhere else.
Oh, so you were there for 1.5 years, and when that was up, then you were done?
Well, I met my husband in class when I went to school. So he was also in the military, and he went to Germany. So when I joined him, I was already a civilian.
Okay.
But I was a dependent wife.
Right.
And so we went to Germany in Würzburg. And so now I got a taste of the military from a different angle.
Right.
Now I'm a dependent, very different.
Yeah.
You have no power.
Right.
I gave up that to be a wife and a mother. But now I see it from a different angle because I have to get permission from my husband to do just about anything because he's now the service member and I'm the spouse.
Okay.
So if I wanted to come home, I had to get his permission.
Gotcha. If
I wanted to buy a ticket, he had to pay for it.
Right.
So it was a little different, not what I wanted at all.
I understand.
So now now instead of getting out of the military, I'm getting out of the military and the marriage.
Okay. So let's go back for a minute. You're getting ready to tell me about the treatment of women?
Yeah.
Tell me.
The women were either trying to be men or ousted for remaining feminine and being a woman. So you had to make a choice.
Okay.
And I was probably 50-50. But I didn't see promotion because I wasn't giving up 100% of myself. I was only gonna be a soldier when I was in uniform, and when I was out, I was a civilian to me. I wasn't talking the lingo. I wasn't trying to be macho. I wasn't marching in place. I was being probably a little of a black sheep, maybe, because to me, I know you're on duty 24 hours, 27 days a week, but when I'm off, I'm off, and if I'm off base, I feel like I get a chance to explore. I didn't learn how to swim until I went into the military.
Okay.
So it was a lot of things that was off limits because where I grew up, there was no pool for people of color. So this was my first chance of seeing people swimming as people of color.
Okay.
Was when I went to the military.
Okay.
And so we were allowed to go into the pool, go into the gym, work out at your leisure. And that's kind of what I started doing when I had time off.
Right. Okay. So you were, your last days in service was at Fort Ord?
It was.
And you separated there?
Yes.
Okay. Have you retained, citations, medals, awards?
Yeah, they were all stolen.
But what were they?
I did. So
You know
I
that
got
you
the
can have them replaced, you know.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I did that for my father.
Okay.
When I became his caregiver. So yeah.
Right. So I got a service medal. I had the sharpshooter rifle qualification. I can't remember all the awards that I had, but I saved our unit, and I don't think I got an award for that because it was.
You saved the unit?
Yeah.
How?
We had an inspection. The general was coming through, and my drill sergeant had just had a baby. So he had left and forgot to leave the key to the closet. So we had no supplies. The closet was locked. The inspection was in the morning, and he was at home. And I picked the lock because it was one of the skills that I brought into the military, because that's what we did when we didn't have anything to do.
Mm-hmm.
Someone told you not to go in there, the door's locked. Oh, we're going to find a way to get in. So I picked the lock. I got everybody organized, gave everybody an assignment on how to clean this barracks, because I didn't pick the lock till like 10 o'clock.
Right.
But we stayed up all night. And I said, we're going to clean this barracks because we're going to, otherwise, he said he was putting us out. That's what he threatened us with. If you don't clean my barracks, you're going to be sleeping outside.
Wow.
So rather than do that, I was like, I'm going to pick the lock. And when he came in the next morning, he was shocked. So he screamed down the hall, who broke into my supply closet? And of course, everyone said, Private Russell, everyone gave me up, no problem. They squealed on me like nothing. Because back in those days, it wasn't that saying, snitches get stitches. You snitched because you didn't want to be in trouble with the other person.
Right.
So they gave me up, no problem. So he called me in his office, and he was like, how'd you get into my supply closet? And I told him a hairpin. And he said, so you know how to break into locks? I was like, yeah, I do. And he said, well, from now on, I want you to charge these clowns $20 to get into their foot lockers when they lock them up. And they want to call me. He said, you got my permission to charge them $20. And I racked up. I made a lot of money.
Okay. Okay.
And he gave me his permission. So everybody came to me rather than call him, because he was really not coming out there. If you got locked out of your locker, he was not coming. And he just said, from now on, if anyone's locked out, call Private Russell. She'll pick it, and she's going to charge
That's
you.
it. How long were you married?
5 years.
5 years. So, during the service and during your marriage,
right?
Any place that you haven't mentioned already that you traveled, where did you travel?
Okay, so when I was in California, I went to Santa Cruz, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, Salinas. They have the rodeos in Salinas. So I was doing everything. I have some pictures some of my friends sent me that I just reconnected with. One person from the military. They have pictures of me at 19.
And you maintained some friendships from the military?
Just one.
Just
I
one?
only have one. Other than my ex-husband.
Okay.
Just one.
Uh-huh.
Other than my ex-husband.
All right. Got it. So then after you got married, where'd you go on your honeymoon?
Okay, we went to San Francisco. Oh, I thought we was going to a hotel.
Where were you? Where were you when you got married?
We got married in Pacific Grove, which is right around the corner from Pebble Beach.
Okay.
We got married there, the Justice of the Peace. And that night, I thought we were going to a nice hotel in San Francisco.
Right.
My husband took me to his ex-girlfriend's house to sleep on the floor with her and her mother's house. That's where I spent my honeymoon. At his ex-girlfriend's house on the floor with a pillow at her house.
Okay.
Different, right?
Extreme.
You can tell this is going to be a different kind of marriage.
Unique.
This is very unique. Real different.
Okay, so where else did you travel to?
Okay, so
during the marriage?
We basically went to Santa Cruz and going to a lot of the amusement parks. Big Sur was one of our other favorite places. Camping, going out, doing a little, rustic living.
Right.
Live on the land for a couple of days and then come back on Sunday nights. But nothing like catching a plane. We never traveled together as a husband and wife.
Gotcha.
Never on a plane. It was always car rides. Now we'd driven from California to Maryland. We would jump in the car and we would just, a 3-day weekend, we would try to see how far we could go.
So, where were you when you got divorced?
Washington, D.C.
Okay. So, what did you do? Now you're really out of the service.
Right.
So what did you do next?
Okay, so when I got out, I came back from Germany with a baby my family had never seen.
Uh-huh.
So my husband stayed. He did not want to leave. He loved Germany. I did not. It's too cold, and I wanted to get back home. So I came back home. I stayed with my family. I had a baby, and I started finding a job. I went to work as an administrative assistant, which is what I was doing in the military, but now I'm doing it for a contract. So I worked for the IRS, was one of my first contracts.
Okay.
I was involved in the first live online e-filing. We are the people who designed it, the company I was working for.
Okay. What company was that?
It was called Q-Tech Corporation.
Okay. And that was in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah.
All right.
I was right in the big main post office where the IRS and the post office combined, right there on 12th and Penn.
Okay. How long did you work for them?
About 1.5 years.
And next job?
The next job was, I went to a law firm.
Okay. Did you finish your degree in anything while you were in the service?
I didn't.
How many? I'm just curious. How many college credits did you
don't
ever
even
finish your
know.
degree?
I never even kept up with it because I realized with a baby, I need to make money, and I was so focused on increasing my salary so that I could afford to live without child support and all that other stuff.
Right.
I took care of my son without help. So I got up to the point where I was making 3 times what I was making in the military in 2 years.
Right. That wasn't hard.
Yeah. I forgot how I made that sound so positive, but that actually isn't saying much.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. That's not hard to do.
Yeah, I went in 78 and got out in 84.
Right.
And it was a way to straighten out your life before. It was a struggle financially.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, yeah.
But what I did was at Q-Tech Corporation, I typed everything. When they gave me something and said make changes, I would type it over because I knew to get into a law firm you had to type 80 words a minute.
Right.
And the military only required you to type 30.
35.
35, right.
Uh-huh.
So I had to go from 35 to 85
Uh-huh.
if I wanted to get hired as a trainee, and I made it.
Right.
And that's how I got into Kilpatrick and Cody. Was the first law firm. I got hired as a trainee legal secretary.
Uh-huh.
And the money was good, but
Okay.
still I'm not satisfied.
Right.
So every 2 years I would take my resume somewhere else and I would get me a $5,000 or a $6,000 raise.
Wow. Okay. That counts.
It does.
Yeah,
It makes
does.
a difference.
Adds up.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. So in general, what did you think of officers and your fellow enlisted soldiers?
I mean, it's a line you draw in the sand like everything else. There's class system. So officers have much better benefits, much better accommodations,
More
housing,
money.
more money. They're professionals. They're treated better, and I guess I never wanted to be an officer. I really did. I went into the military to get away from home.
Mhm.
That's it. Once I got away, that's when I started trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life.
Right.
Because it was a vessel to get me out without having to put up money or end up unemployed or homeless or married to someone I don't want to be with just so I can have the means to survive.
Mhm.
So,
Okay. So, did you use the GI Bill for anything else?
I never used it after I got out.
No.
No.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, you're still working.
Yes.
How long have you been with this firm now?
Oh, I move every year because I got to get the money.
Okay. I think we got that down, Pat.
I have no loyalty.
I got you. So I got a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
Okay. Yes, you do. To yourself, at least.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
loyal to my family.
Don't tell that lie. Okay, there you go. All right. And for a good reason, I'm sure. I mean, the way the world is today, hello.
I'm the youngest of 14. So.
Okay. Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
Yeah.
In what way?
I know being in uniform means you have to be prepared for the day to change from one hour to the next. And I wasn't afraid of war or combat. I think it makes you stronger because you have to be able to stand up for yourself and be able to face adversity, even conflict. And you can't do that being afraid of what can happen. You are just going to always stay prepared.
Gotcha. Okay. And
I'm getting prepared for war right now.
I hear you. How did your service and experiences affect your life?
It made me a go-getter. It made me not take no for an answer. I became very self-sufficient and also resilient.
Okay. Okay, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us that you feel like maybe you left anything out?
Well, I think I left out the part where when I realized I got pregnant, I knew that was my ticket out. Okay. Because I had already tried to get out because my father was sick and that wasn't working. So now this thing where you can make a decision when you have a baby, because when both parents are in the military, you have a choice of getting out or giving custody of the baby to a family member.
Right.
But I definitely wanted to raise my son, and so I raised my hand because I know my husband wasn't getting out. He loved it. He was a lifer. He retired. And so I didn't like the uniforms of a pregnancy. That wasn't going to work for me. I was like, let me out. I want to get out. Because actually, I think they probably would have asked me to get out because I gained a lot of weight. And I don't think they would have had a uniform to fit me. I really don't.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank you for a wonderful interview.
You're welcome.
And I'd also like to thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
You've been a great interviewer.
Okay.
That made you laugh.